Other people saying, okay, don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Okay, more than one has heard that. Yeah. With those, we often think that we're the problem in those relationships. We learn to believe we're the problem. We learn to believe that we're making mistakes and we're unlovable with parents like that. That's a switch our mind makes that puts us in the role of self-blame, when the truth is we have a parent that's out of control. Their emotions are they're crazy, they're unstable, they're dangerous, and we're trying to orient our sense of making sense of the world as a kid around a person like that, a particularly abusive parent. And we can either, in our truth, and kids will often know this, and worked with clients that had crazy, unstable parents, emotionally volatile parents. That's a less judgmental word. They're emotionally volatile parents, physically abusive. And in their truth, they knew this parent is wrong, and they're not taking care of me, and they're not treating me nice, and this is wrong. But they knew if they went with that story, they would be standing up for truth. And they could say it out loud. It's like, Mom, Dad, you're wrong, you're drunk, you're being abusive, you're unstable, you don't have control over yourself. That they would be fighting a much bigger person that could physically hurt them if they were going to lose and get beaten up worse for. And so the mind calculated that consequence of telling the truth and said, that's going to be much more painful. And so we avoid the truth and we say, we have to repress the truth. And make ourselves believe a lie and say, it's my fault. Because if I say it's my fault, I can avoid this battle that'll happen if I speak up for this truth, because I know it's an injustice. I can avoid that battle. I'm going to lose. That's going to be painful. I'll say it's my fault. I avoid that pain of that confrontation. And if I believe it's my fault and there's something I can do and I can compensate in some way, and this is like a 3-year-old, this is a 5-year-old mind, I will avoid triggering them again. I'll be really good. I'll be really kind. I'll make everything happy. I'll be especially careful. I'll avoid them. And so we start to learn at 3, 5, 10 years old, these strategies to avoid the volatile emotional adult, the parent perhaps. And we make stories, it's my fault, but I can control it. And if it's my fault, it's my responsibility. And if my responsibility, I have agency, and you feel a little more empowered, for like, I can do something to stop that reaction in the future or avoid it or not trigger them, right? And so we take on this compensating belief of feeling like we have power in the house. We'll just adopt the perfect behaviors and avoid the bad behaviors so that they don't get triggered. And that feels safer and more secure, because now we have a feel of agency, a power, and that we can control the situation. We just have to figure out what is the perfect thing to do and avoid the triggers. Okay, which with a volatile adult, an abusive adult, like you're never going to avoid the triggers. But you don't know that. So you've denied the truth that you know, you've adopted the lie that it's your fault. It feels better. The lie feels better because you have some agency and you believe I can figure out a way to make this work and I can avoid these beatings, abuse, shamings, criticisms. And so then you try and go and map out these ways to avoid being criticized or abused. feeling somewhat empowered and hopeful. And that feels better. The problem is it's all under the assumption of the lie that you've agreed to believe it's my fault. I'm wrong. I'm bad. And so you start to build this lie about yourself that I'm a wrong, bad, something's broken about me, I'm not lovable, shame. But you don't mind as much because at least you have some agency and you feel like there's hope. But over years and repetition, every time they say it's your fault, and you pissed me off and you made me angry because they don't have control of themselves and you made me do this. And, you know, if you weren't so stupid, if you weren't this, you weren't like, a part of you goes, I'm going to take that. I'm going to believe that it's my fault and I'm unworthy and I'm broken and I'm unlovable. Like you absorb the more and more pain, you absorb more and more, all based on a lie. And the pain grows over years until you're hypnotized into that story and you're telling yourself that year over year. And now maybe you're out of the house for years, but that narrative story is living inside you that you agreed to believe because it felt safer. There was hope about agency, and it was safer than telling them the truth was they're wrong. Okay, so you took the smarter way out at 3 and 5 years old to take the blame, because telling them the truth was a fight you were going to lose, and you were smart enough to figure that out. And you should say, I'm going to go with this lie because this will be less painful, that it is my fault. But over time and repetition, you come to fully believe that in your belief system, and your victim side of the belief system accepts it. Your judge is reinforcing it, because you got to find another way. You just got to figure out and be more perfect, to be a better pleaser and anticipate them better, or read their mind better, and do all these things in advance. And so you develop this big perfectionist strategy, and that's the way you're going to save you. And you feel empowered. It feels like possible. It feels like hope. And you end up living your adult life like that. You end up living adult relationships like that. And buried in there is a shame and unworthiness from believing I'm broken, there's something wrong with me. That's a lie. But underneath that lie is a truth that you buried before that. And the truth is, you're not broken. They were unstable, and they were emotionally unstable and out of control. And they didn't know how to love you, and they didn't know how to accept you. And you're not broken at that level. But you've built on lies about yourself that you are broken to give yourself hope with this other strategy that you can control the situation. So you built lie on top of lie on top of lie to avoid that conflict that you were going to lose. And it looked better at the time. But now, when you're an adult, it's time to drop those stories, all of them. Living the truth. You're not broken. They were the problem, not you. And so as you unlayer these stories and layers, you get back to that bottom layer. And I'm not broken. I am lovable. And there's a part of me that I want to get in touch with. There's nothing wrong with. And all these parts that believe they're broken and that feel all the shame and unworthiness, like, and that I'm supposed to be perfect and I got to control other people and please everybody. It's like that you're unlayering all that, and you get to the part where you're like, I know I'm just fine. So that's the journey you're on. That's the journey everybody's on, pretty much. And if they're not doing it, they've done it. Or they're putting it off till later. So hope that helps with that picture. Some of our unstable parents, or wherever we got that seed, wherever we got that not good enough story, somewhere, somehow, in some level of degree, some of it were reinforced earlier and more often than others. That's all.